A place where we don't have to choose between economic prosperity and environmental protection. I know it's a place where our children will have the same opportunities for dignity and enrichment and prosperity and good health as the communities that our parents gave us. I know it's a place where every American enjoys the right to vote and everybody has absolute faith that our electoral system has integrity and it's the best in the world.
Am 9.10.2023 wurde in Philadelphia, den USA, eines der wichtigsten Erklärungen für den nächsten Wahlkampf oder den laufenden Wahlkampf in den USA ausgesprochen. Wir wissen alle, dass Bobby Kennedy Jr. im März seine Kandidatur preisgegeben hat, aber wir wussten bis dato nicht, ob er seiner demokratischen Partei treu bleibt, weil seine ganze Familie, eigentlich die Dynastie Kennedy, seit fast einem Jahrhundert ja zu den Demokraten gehört hat. Aber wie wir ja alle wissen, dass zurzeit die Demokratische Partei oder das National Committee of the Democratic Party die Kandidatur von Bobby Kennedy Jr. sehr, sehr erschwert. Deswegen war es eigentlich nicht ganz so verwunderlich, dass Bobby Kennedy Jr. sich die Überlegung gemacht hat, vielleicht als Independent zu kandidieren. Was heißt das denn für die USA? Also in den USA haben wir ja dieses Zwei-Party-System, wo wir die Demokraten mehr liberal und linksorientiert auch haben und dann haben wir natürlich die Republikaner. Wir wissen alle, dass dieses Zwei-Parteien-System in den USA sehr stark durch den Lobbyismus gesteuert wird. Auf der linken Seite ist es dann eher die Big Tech Lobby, die finanziert. Auf der rechten Seite ist es das Big Oil, die Ölkonzerne, aber auch natürlich der Military Complex, also die ganzen Consultants für Military, aber auch Big Health finanzieren sehr viel die Abgeordneten. Und deswegen ist es sehr faszinierend, dass wir diese Wahlkampagne, also die Präsidentschaftswahl 2024, jetzt mit 3 Kandidaten und 2 davon sind natürlich den etablierten Parteien zugeschrieben, Donald Trump mit den Republikanern, Biden mit den Demokraten und wir haben Bobby Kennedy Jr. nun als unparteiischen, unabhängigen Independent-Kandidaten in den USA. Wir waren vor Ort in Philadelphia am 9.10. und konnten natürlich Anhänger interviewen, aber auch seinen Kampagnenleiter Del Bigtree.
Hi, I'm Del Bigtree. I am a freedom activist. I am into making sure that people have control over their own bodies. I've been in the medical freedom movement for many years, and you know, I'm here today supporting Robert Kennedy Jr., who's just made one of the most historic political statements I think ever made, certainly in my lifetime, as he moves to run independently from free of all parties. I think it's the right move because his message has always been about healing the divide, bringing this divide together that's got us all fighting with each other. Here in the United States of America, we're facing so many issues, both inside of our borders and abroad. We're in wars that we shouldn't be in. We're tired as citizens in this country of funding wars, of regime change that never happens, just destroying other countries while we destroy our own and drive ourselves into debt. We also want to start leading into a space where Robert Kennedy Jr. of a healthier lifestyle, of cleaner food and products and drugs and vaccines that are being properly tested. That's something that I've stood for a long time and have stood beside Robert Kennedy Jr., sometimes even in lawsuits together, to try and expose all the lies and deceit that are happening in our regulatory agencies. A lot of presidents have said they want to clean the swamp or they're going to make, you know, the political system in America a better place. But then they show up and they put in all the same executives from the industries to run our regulatory agencies, and we just have this revolving door where nothing actually gets done. We finally have a man running for president of the United States in Robert Kennedy Jr. that is not only does he know these regulatory agencies and know the people that are in it, who's corrupt, because he's been suing them. He knows it not just from an outside position, but because he has been bringing lawsuits his entire career against the EPA and the USDA and the NIH. And so he knows where the bodies are buried in there. He knows where the lies are told. And when he says, I'm going to go clean it up, I know he knows how to do that. So finally, with an independent spirit stepping forward, he will not be controlled by the parties. No one's going to get to tell him what to say or what to do. And I believe we're going to watch the next president of the United States, and Robert Kennedy Jr., make America what it's always dreamed to be. It's really, you know, that America that almost was and yet still may be.
Nochmal zu dem, der Krux an der ganzen Sache, oder nicht der Krux, sondern dem Faszinierenden. Wenn wir einfach mal die Geschichte aller Präsidenten durchlaufen, die die USA hatte, ist es faszinierend, dass es nur lediglich 2 amerikanische Präsidenten gab, die ohne Parteizugehörigkeit angelaufen sind. Das war George Washington und nur ist es Bobby Kennedy Jr. Und was verspricht ein parteiloser Kandidat seinen Followern oder seinen Wählern? Natürlich ist er nicht kaufbar. Das hat er bewiesen, weil er sehr viele große Konzerne, besonders in der Medizinbranche, verklagt hat für Impfschädigungen, Impfschäden. Dann war er sehr aktiv auch in der Covid-Lockdown-Geschichte. Bobby Kennedy Jr. hat with Children Health Defense sehr viele Gerichtsverfahren unterstützt.
We do face an entrenched political corruption and an inequality of wealth not seen in a century. But the good news is that people like yourselves are finally fed up. Something is stirring in us that says it doesn't have to be this way. People stop me everywhere at airports, at hotels and malls, on the street, and they remind me that this country is ready for a history-making change. They are ready to reclaim their freedom, their independence. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate.
Ein weiterer Punkt, den wir haben durch die Präsidentschaftskandidatur als Independent für die USA, die jetzt Robert Kennedy Jr. anstrebt. Er ist einer, der eine riesengroße Lücke füllt. Also wir haben natürlich gehört, dass wir die MAGA-Anhänger haben, die Trump bis zum Letzten unterstützen werden. Dann haben wir die immer noch sehr, sehr treuen Demokraten, die Biden unterstützen werden und die niemals einen Republikaner wählen würden. Und da kommt jetzt natürlich ein Bobby Kennedy Jr., der Demokrat war, der aber auch patriotische Ziele hat, wie zum Beispiel die Grenze zu schließen, die Border zu schließen. Er war selber bei einem Border-Trip an der Mauer, an der US-mexikanischen Grenze. In den USA läuft so vieles nicht ganz rund und Robert Kennedy Jr. ist nach den Meinungen seiner Wähler und seiner Anhänger eigentlich der Einzige, der diese Kluft zwischen den Amerikanern schließen kann, weil er, wie gesagt, keinerlei Agenda folgt. Also er folgt jetzt nicht den Lobbyisten der Pharmaindustrie, aber er läuft aber auch nicht den Lobbyisten der Ölindustrie hinterher. Er ist frei von Agenda. Er möchte einfach den amerikanischen Traum zurückbringen.
The right and the left have become all mixed up anyhow. It used to be the Democratic Party opposed censorship. It was the Democratic Party that wanted to rein in the military and the CIA. It was the Democratic Party that fought corporate influence. Remember when Wall Street and big corporations all supported the Republicans? Well, who is the liberal now, and who's the conservative? Who is the left, who is the right? These labels make less and less sense. Yet out of habit, we still group ourselves around the empty husks of those old alignments and threadbare ideologies. But now that habit is breaking down. That's why half the electorate no longer identifies with any political party. And 63% of Americans want an independent to run for president. Of course, the outer structures of the parties still dominate the political landscape. but they're hollowed out from within like a building full of termites. What kind of new political structures might emerge from those ruins? What is politics going to look like when it's no longer us versus them? American democracy should be more than just picking between two candidates anointed by shadowy institutions. Big oil funds the Republicans. Big tech funds the Democrats. Big pharma and the military contractors make sure to give to both. Instead of two parties, we have this kind of uniparty, a two-headed monster that's constantly bickering with itself as it leads us all over a cliff. And at the bottom of that cliff is the destruction of our country. Neither party has offered any kind of meaningful resistance to the endless wars that have sucked dry our wealth and slaughtered our youth. Neither has done anything to reverse the erosion of the American middle class. Both of them are powerless to rein in our exploding deficits. They have contributed equally to the corporate giveaways, to the corruption in Washington, and to the erection of a surveillance state. Yeah, there are good and honest people within both parties, even in their leadership. But the system itself is hopelessly corrupt.
Hi, Deborah Sheldon. It's DebraSheldon, and I'm from Harlemville, New York. Okay, I think like Bobby is the only candidate who's been boots on the ground standing with us and supporting us around issues of health, the environment, and freedom from day one. So I think one of the things that happens is that people start to align themselves with parties. And when there's a moral crisis, what's demanded of people is that they actually consider the issues that really matter. So what's happening now in America is that there's this rupturing of those alliances, and what's happening is that something new is being birthed here, and that is an independent movement that's organic by the people, demanding that we confront the issues that will improve life for American people. Bobby is the candidate who has been chosen to help lead that path forward, and in times of crises like what we're experiencing now, that's the most important thing we can do. Let go of affiliations and focus on what matters, which is the issue. Health and freedom being the top. Bobby has been fighting what you would call the establishment based on their corruption for a very long time. So it's no doubt that the people who put corporate interests over the interests of the people would not support him. But this is a movement by and for the people to reclaim American democracy and to improve quality of life for people all over the country. Not just the elites, but real working Americans. According to the Harvard-Harris poll, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has the highest favorability rating of any candidate on any party line. And what we know now is that he is starting out where Ross Perot, another third-party candidate, ended his race. Bobby hasn't even announced how he's running, and he already has a super high rating. So I am fully confident that the people who've just been waiting for Bobby to listen and respond to what they're asking of him will fully come on board and support him. And I think because he is taking the superior path, it is a sure path to victory. Yes, for exactly the reasons I stated before. If you care about ending chronic disease, and I care about ending chronic disease, does it matter that you're German and I'm American? No, it doesn't. Because we are connected in our hearts around a shared vision for people, our people. And that is what Bobby brings. He's committed, he's courageous, and in his heart, he's dedicated to these issues of ending suffering. And that is what brings people together. We come together because we have a vision for what goodness looks like. Someone comes and stands out on the issues that they're passionate about, for justice, for health, and for freedom. What happens is that people who are aligned with those issues start coming together. And that's why it's grassroots. It's grassroots because people are aligning themselves with what matters, and that is how people get moved in a country like the United States of America. Tocqueville in the 19th century, the French philosopher, wrote in his book, Democracy in America, he wrote, "These Americans are very peculiar people. They find an issue they care about, they spontaneously organize to change their communities around that issue." And that's exactly what Bobby's campaign is. He's never been a politician. This is his first time running for elected office. So he's not a politician. He is an advocate for the people. So a poll was done and they said, hey Bobby, look, the American people really love you. Would you consider running? And he said, after a lot of consideration, yes, because the people's will has...
There's no other explanation for the enthusiasm I see every day as more and more people flock to this campaign. Sometimes it gives me goosebumps. Their minds may tell them that the situation is hopeless, that the elites are too entrenched, that the corruption is too deep. But their hearts say otherwise. I know that because I meet scores of people every day, even those in the most difficult circumstances, who have not given up on America. I visited mobile health clinics in the back routes and roads of Georgia, where families get their medical care in the back of a bus. I've planted gardens in the food deserts in Watts and Cleveland. I've sat amongst migrant children at the border. I've met social workers and doctors in Yuma who treat these immigrants with kindness and heartbreaking generosity as if they were members of their own families. I've walked the fields with farmers in Kansas who can't drink from their own wells because they're poisoned by pesticides. These are members of the dispossessed now. I've sat at kitchen tables in Pennsylvania with parents working every hour that God gives them to afford a home of their own, only to get outbid by a hedge fund with a cash offer at the last minute. I've worked with veterans who serve honorably in foreign wars and come home then to a country that is bankrupted by those wars. I've eaten with small business owners who had to board up their dreams as Amazon cashed in. I've talked from moms from Nevada to New Hampshire who lie awake at home juggling unpayable bills, choosing between gasoline and groceries. I've met senior citizens who cut their pills in two to stretch out their prescriptions. And I pulled dead fish from rivers that are clogged with chemical runoff and waste. And I've read stories to children who are devastated by chronic disease. It can all look pretty dark. We seem to be cycling from despair to rage and back to despair again. The country is sitting on top now of a powder keg. Americans are angry at being left out, left behind, swindled, cheated, and belittled by a smug elite that has rigged the system in its favor. Seen hope. I've traveled millions of American miles across my career. And to quote Tennyson, I am part of all whom I have met. For 40 years, Americans across the country have fortified me with their courage and their idealism. But this year, I have witnessed an upwelling of optimism that I've never seen before. And optimism isn't the same thing as denial. We have to acknowledge the truth. We do face a decaying infrastructure and record levels of suicide, depression, addiction, chronic disease. We do face an entrenched political corruption and an inequality of wealth not seen in a century.
I'm Mike Mara. I lived in Germany, 2 Jahre, in 1980 in Augsburg. I am a Democrat here in the United States of America. I served in the U.S. military, and I'm a complete supporter of Bobby Kennedy, specifically for his independence. I was a supporter of his father back in 1968, and a contributor to Teddy Kennedy in 1980, albeit in 68, I was a young boy. But in 1980, when Teddy ran, I was a supporter from Deutschland, where I was living for a couple of years. I worked in the military as a linguist Soviet Warsaw Pact analyst. Bobby running today as an independent is very important. I find it abhorrent that our Democratic National Committee is not allowing us as Democrats to vote for our candidate and shutting Bobby Kennedy out completely. It reminds me of the old Central Committee of the Soviet Union determining who the candidates would be. We need to have engagement. We need to be able to elect who our candidate is, not have a national committee determine that it's Joe Biden. Allow Biden to debate Kennedy, allow the process to work, and I will remain a Democrat. Until then, I'm completely behind Bobby Kennedy and the independence movement. I think having an open America is very important, providing that it's the process that we follow for coming to the United States of America to work, to live here, and to become citizens. To have an open border where there's no accountability of who's coming in is dangerous, both to the people coming in as well as us as citizens that can really unite America is Bobby Kennedy right now.
Kennedy Jr. ist der einzige US-Präsidentschaftskandidat, der keine Unterstützung oder Sicherheitsbedienstete oder Dienstleister des Secret Service erhält, weil das Weiße Haus seine Anfrage auf diesen Service untersagt hat. Auf jeden Fall fragwürdig, das ist auf jeden Fall zu unterschreiben. Es gab auch schon eine Situation, wo Bobby Kennedy Jr. seine Security, die er sich selber besorgt hat, zum Einsatz bringen musste. Das war in Kalifornien, als ein bewaffneter Mann versucht hat, zu einer Rallye zu kommen und durch die Sicherheitslinien zu kommen. Also das ist dann schon eher ein Warnzeichen und man sollte dann doch die Frage stellen ans Weiße Haus, warum werden nicht alle Präsidentschaftskandidaten unterstützt mit Secret Service security.
I lived in the U.S. for 20 years as a green card holder, and 10 years ago, after watching that, I said that if Kennedy ever runs for president, then I would become a U.S. citizen. And so when he announced in March or April, whenever that was, I put in my paperwork, and in August, I became a U.S. citizen right here in Philadelphia so that I could vote for Kennedy.